Yeah.
Welcome, everyone, to Ask the Experts podcast. Welcome to another episode. And this episode, we're going to be talking about moms who are going through those difficult, challenging times. Whether you are a first time mom, you are a mother, you know your role is difficult, is challenging, but one that is rewarding immensely. My guest today is going to be sharing insights as to how mothers can truly navigate through those difficult, challenging moments. My guest today is Roxandra Nashet. She is a stress management coach. She has transformed over 100 families and their dynamics to reach fulfillment. What is interesting about Roxandra, she has shown courage and resiliency. At the age of 18, she left Romania to move to England to study at university when she was becoming a teacher. Throughout Roxandra's travels, she has garnered insights as to how children are raised. She embarked on you know, raising children, working with children in orphanages in disadvantaged countries. And Roxandra is on a remarkable mission to empower women to change their lives, how they can become resilient when raising children. Roxandra, welcome to Ask the Experts podcast.
Thank you so much, Aka. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, whoever is listening to us. I'm just so glad and honored to be here. And I do take every opportunity to share everything I learned because it's my journey. And also, yes, I did impact it more than 100 families. And this is because I work with moms. So I am a stress management coach, but also a clarity coach. So some clients are calling me Clarity Queen. As I got so good at
Nice.
it. So yes, so
So
the
let's
way
start with what is a stress management coach?
good question. So what actually a stress management coach is helping you to understand your stress triggers, to understand when you don't feel very well, when you are stressed, and how to cope with stress. So it's all about finding the right tools and strategies that will help you not necessary to avoid stress because we don't want that. What we want to do, we want you to learn how to manage it in a healthy way, how not to hide from it, just to recognize it, it's happening. And then here you go. You have the tools that will be personalized and will be right for you.
Right, excellent. So, when it comes to stress, stress causes individuals not just psychological stress, but when that does happen, it really takes over the whole, the entire body. It affects so many um, parts of us that is very difficult to manage. And, different ailments can happen, whether, we may maybe anxiety, for example, could happen. What have you found in your experiences when working with clients? How have you managed when you have found that clients have maybe their anxiety though or they're depressed? How does one come out of that depression?
And I'm glad you asked that because this is how actually I started being a stress management coach based on my own experience. So I lived a life, like you mentioned at the beginning, which for me, it was amazing. So it was the other way around. For me, it was from hero to zero because I had an amazing life and then this is it. I got into a burnout. And that burnout, it lasted for like 4 years. And I had anxiety, I had depression, I had chronic pain, I had all sort of things, really difficult to go out of it. And with all my knowledge as a teacher of psychology, neuroscience, I couldn't help myself for 4 years. So when overwhelm kicked in, self-doubt, not being able to do almost anything, I lost a job, I lost lots of money just going to doctors and treatments and finding who I was. So this is what actually, caused all of those things. And I had panic attacks almost every single day. And because I was a huge fan of journaling, I had no idea what I was doing, but this is how I started understanding my needs and understanding what's causing all this stress, what's actually happening, because my thoughts, they were like rapidly moving. So usually the way I like to call anxiety, I'm saying that anxiety is a case of having your paddle, you have your foot stuck on the paddle gas and your thoughts are just racing, your heart is pounding, you have no idea how to control it. You feel like your brain is on fire, and all that anxiety is just lots of energy, but it's bad energy in a way of stress energy, and you cannot control. So this is the biggest thing for anxiety, and this is when the panic attacks come in, because everything you feel, it's so real. Everything you feel, it's like you feel you have a tiger in front of you, because this is when the stress, actually starts to kick in and wants to protect you. So your brain is like, oh, I am in a really danger situation. But the problem with anxiety is that you feel that nonstop. You feel that day and night. You don't have a break. And it's draining your energy. And with depression, on the other hand, is the other way around. You have no energy at all. So you have no gas, and you feel
Right.
sad, and you feel nobody understands you, and you feel really, really sad, in that sadness that you lost yourself, you lost your soul, you lost who you are. You don't know where to go. You're just thinking about past, and you're thinking about past experiences that went wrong, and you just feel like everything else is wrong. You have no motivation. You don't see the light and the end of the tunnel. And anxiety and depression, they do go hand in hand most of the time. And especially with moms that I've been working with, past postpartum depression after you have a baby, you know, it's crucial. Like nobody really talks that much about it. Everyone's like, oh, we are trying to have a baby, and then you get ready, where gender reveal, all the parties, everything. You're even planning your birth, all those things. But
Uh-huh.
after you gave birth, you have another 3 months when actually are crucial for you as a woman, and for the entire family dynamic will change. And this is when you're really, really vulnerable, for postpartum depression, which again comes together with depression and anxiety.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. Depression and anxiety, yes, they go hand in hand. My question would be, can you be too positive as you're going through those depressive moments? Can you be too positive in the light when you are, changing, but you haven't healed through those trauma? You haven't healed.
Yes,
Can that be
yes.
possible? Have you found that in you working with mothers?
So what
That
I
you
found,
want to change, but because you haven't fully healed,
yes,
how does one go through that?
what I found very often, it was a case of playing the game of I'm fine, and putting everything underneath the carpet and just pretending it's not there. So that's why I said at the beginning, not hiding stress, like not saying it's not there, because that's essential. The first thing to do is acknowledging that's happening to you. Once you know what's happening to you, then your brain automatically will start looking for
Right. Yes.
solutions. So when you are our brain really loves certainty. So this is the thing. So we have the prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO of our brain, which is in charge in making sure you get really good decisions. You make decisions. You are very confident in everything you do, and you take actions, and you're very effective, right? And what happens on the other side is the amygdala that kicks in, which is the stress, and is the stress central. And this is when you are overwhelmed, when you are depressed, when you feel unhappy, unworthy. You just feel like nothing really, makes you feel fulfilled. And you're just annoyed, and you're frustrated, and all those anger, your fear, everything. This is actually goes to the stress, and the amygdala kicks in. And then this is when you start running, from the survival mode. And it's exactly the same feeling as feeling like you have a tiger in front of you. So you no longer have the certainty, right? So in order to actually get some, clarity, because this is what you need. Clarity is the bridge between stress and action. So this is
Right.
so moving from the survival zone to move into the strategy world is
Mhm.
just a step, and that makes action. And in order to take action, you need to know what you're facing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how we think about stress is very important. I mean, this is what I think sometimes when I have found those moments, whether it's my day-to-day tasks that I'm doing, I get overwhelmed. And most of us, yes, most entrepreneurs, yes, we do face that. So how we think about stress can either, help us or it can kill us. And
Yes.
when we think about that, so it's our thoughts. That's
Mhm.
very important as to how we think, our thoughts, negative or positive, what we're thinking. Because when we allow those stresses in our lives, it can really impact the body.
Yes, absolutely. Everything you said, it's so true and it's so right. So stress will manifest in different ways, like you said early on. And what really, really need to do, it's a case of aligning everything. So what you say, what you think, and what you do needs to be in alignment. So if you're telling yourself that you're not good enough, guess what? You're going to show up as not being good enough. And then guess what? You're going to feel that you're not good enough. And you just go in a circle. You just go in a circle, and everything else will be the same. So first thing will be cognitive behavior therapy is a good start because this is catching your thought and what's actually underneath that. What action do you take when you're thinking about that and what emotion, what do you feel when you do that? So if you mention about being overwhelmed, that means that it will be a good idea to start writing because when you feel that it's way too much, you can't take it anymore, it's just too much. Journaling, it's a really good, you just need to empty that brain because you have like a mental load, right? So it's too much, it needs to go out, and the only way to go out, it will be a case to talk about it, and the easiest way it's writing. So majority of my clients, they love this technique, which is you don't have to have like half an hour or an hour. No, 5 minutes before you go to bed, write down whatever you feel like. Just literally take a pen and let your hand write, and you will see it's a lot. You will be
So
surprised
journal.
how much.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't stop
Uh,
anymore, right? This
mhm.
is one thing that you can do. And when you feel overwhelmed, just try and do like a trigger
Mhm.
chart, for example. Just watch yourself. When do you feel overwhelmed? Is it maybe when your partner is not home? Is it maybe when you're facing a new client? Is it maybe when you don't have that income that you wanted? It's a pattern in there. So you really need to start looking in more that, like actually, when do I feel that? And also another thing is how this manifests in your body, because everything we feel goes in our body.
Right.
Oh, absolutely everything. So if you have a pain, guess what? It's related to some stress that you already experienced. So if you focus on
Interesting.
your pain, then you will see, okay, all right, I have lower back pain, or usually stress will be on your shoulders. So this is probably the most common one that I see. You feel like your shoulders are really heavy, and the way you don't really stay like a superwoman like this. You don't feel very confident. You stand, you try to.
Slouched. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's one sign. And again, I would like you to spend some time and see where else your stress is manifesting in your body, because that would be a signal. And then maybe you don't know the situation, but at least you start recognizing it in your body. And one tip, I will say one tip, it's really that's going to work, is for you to start relaxing your face muscles, because once you relax your face muscles, the rest body will follow. So that's a really, yes, it's very easy. You just start, either you can visualize it or you can actually massage your face as well. And the most stress is accumulated between our eyebrows here. And if you touch it and you press it down and you see it's painful, oh my gosh, that means you really carry a lot. So you
Wow,
have
that's amazing. I should try that. That's a
go
great
for it.
tool. That's a great tool. But Roxandra, I love what you just said. And when you focus on stress, so our thoughts are powerful. Is what we focus on. What we focus on, the negative, it multiplies.
Hmm.
Right? It multiplies in ways that, or in places that we didn't even think about. Right. So I
Exactly.
love that. I love that. So you've got amazing tools and techniques that, you've helped mums overcome. And I'm really going to try that. So thank you for sharing that.
You are more
So,
than welcome.
so how do we raise healthy human beings? How do we raise healthy kids when we know that as parents, most parents, they've not been brought up in a certain way. And we want to raise healthy children, but at the same time, we don't want to mess them up because we know our past, we know that how our parents have raised us. Maybe not in a way that it was fulfilling. Maybe it wasn't in a way that it was healthy environment. So how can you share tools and techniques as to what parents can do today?
Absolutely, yes. So first of all, I will say that you really need to go back and understand what sort of belief system do you have, what sort of values do you have, and what sort of needs do you have. So why the foundation is so important? Because it's really important for you as a mom and for you as a child as well. Right? So all those things. And then maybe the way your parents raised you, you didn't like something. That's fine. You don't have to do it that way. Okay, but at least you know that. And then maybe you actually find two or three values that you definitely stand for. And you know those are important to you. So you don't have, to be that perfect mom that, it's showing on on social media and that happy family and everyone, because that's, let's face it, motherhood and parenting, it's tough. It is
Mhm.
tough and it is challenging. But what do you want? For me and for my husband, we said, I want to raise resilient children. This is it. This is what I want. I want my child to know and to face setbacks. I want my child to be responsible. I want him to take the ownership. I want him to be raised in a way that when he goes on his own in the world, he can face whatever comes in his way.
Right.
So that was for me something that was really important. And the other thing I decided for my family was raising emotionally intelligent children. And this is how I started building my business around this because it's so important having empathy, having awareness, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to love yourself, and then you can love others as well. Those things are coming as a full package for a successful future for our children. So another really good thing, you can do is actually starting looking at your children. Like literally spend quality time with them because they pick up everything you do, everything you want to do or you don't want to do. They will tell you and they will show it in their behavior and the way they are thinking because for them, you are the hero. This is it. You are the hero. Yes, if you make a mistake, it's okay. You're human. What do you want to teach your child? I want to teach him that it's okay to fail. I want to teach him it's okay to make mistakes. And I tell him, I tell my children when I do that, like, oh, mommy made a mistake. Oh, look what happened. And the next question would be, what can we do to resolve that? You know? And then I let them maybe give me some ideas on how I can fix that instead of just pretending oh and everything needs to be perfect. Well, no, because in the world it's not like that. So let them make mistakes. I never ever ever, my son is 2, believe it or not, so Jason is 2, and he knows that when he makes a mistake it's okay to make mistakes. So he drops a glass of water, for example. He's like, oops, made a mistake. And he's just starting actually by himself. He's 2, and he's wiping up, and he's trying to fix it, which is great. I don't focus on success. I don't celebrate only the success. I celebrate the progress. So when he's trying to put his shoes on, I'm saying, well done for trying. You have to be so proud of you because you're trying to do this by yourself. I would be like, this is amazing that you want to put your shoes. Wow, well done. So I'm not saying well done for doing it. I'm just saying well done for trying to do it. So what's this teaching him? This is teaching him that it's great trying. And this is how resilience will be built. And this is how he will motivate himself. And this is how he's going to get to that stage where he will feel like he can do whatever he wants. And even if he's failing, he's not giving up. Even if he's trying again. And it's really funny because now he's telling me sometimes, when you try to open a package of something and
Uh-huh.
it's not you. And this was the other day actually. And we tried to open a package of cheese.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, it was the with the zipper. It was
Oh,
stuck. I couldn't
yes. Uh-huh.
open it.
Uh-huh.
And it was it was so funny. I was like, "Come on, mommy, you do it. You do it. You can." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so cute to hear from him." So definitely, I said that on repeat to him whenever he's,
Right.
you know. So
Uh-huh.
I was like, "This was amazing to hear him." So
That
this
is
is
so
what
good. Yeah.
those are just a few examples. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. This is reality, and this is what I do with all my moms that I work with. So I work with moms in business. So the idea, everything started with stress management, and I was, yeah, this is my experience, and I always was kind of inspired to help other women. This was me. And then when I realized like I was working with moms. I was like, okay, well, let me actually work with moms in that case. And I started launching different programs and different courses. And I call it triple transformation. Because why is triple transformation? Because, okay, we talk about you as a mom. Okay, we need to find out who you are, what do you need, what do you like. Let me go deep, deep, deep into who you are so then you can be authentic and you can show up authentic. And then everything around you will be lovely because everyone else will love you for who you are once you start loving yourself for who you are. So you have to start working on yourself first. And then the other part is the business because I started working with them. They started recognizing their skill, their gifts. I predominantly work with coaches, with therapists, with healers. So they have quite specific gifts. And it was just a case to put that into a business and a startup. And then the triple transformation will be the child. So I do go in age groups and everything, how to raise them to be resilient, how to raise them to be emotionally intelligent, and how to have fun because life needs to be lived. I love to see people, they are enjoying their life. They are not just reacting to it, they are creating it. And once you step in and finding who you are as a mom, as a business owner, this is it. And the kids will just follow, and you start creating that magic and you start creating the magic all around you. It's not just you, it's gonna be huge. It's your family and then will be the whole community and it can go to the whole country. It's massive.
Exactly. And I love that point, Roxandra. Love and relationships. Relationships is not just like romantic relationships. Relationships is all around, is holistic. Your friends, your family. But all these relationships and all this cornerstone starts within you. If we cannot love ourselves, if I can't love me, I cannot have other people love me back because it's energy, right? We are all
Mm-hmm.
energy. So that love needs to come within you, first of all, and of course, children also see that. So if they find and they're receptive, they read off the energy of the mother or the father, the parents, and children feed off of that. If they find the parent, oh, my mother's just kind of off, they sense that, they feel it. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
very important then how we need to show up. But then, like I said, we don't need to show up and put up a front, like on social media, or just put up a front. How then can mothers navigate through those moments when they feel like they don't want to show up?
They don't show up. This
They
is
don't show
it.
up.
It's as simple as that. So if we are talking about, yeah, self-love, self-compassion, They are crucial. They are
Yes.
so
Mhm,
important. And
mhm.
when I was at my really low point in my life, I couldn't see myself in the mirror. I was so disappointed and I was so in such a dark place that I really wanted to hide from everyone. So start loving yourself. And how do you do that? How? Start understanding what do you need because everything starts from there. If your basic needs are not fulfilled, then you are frustrated, you are starting shouting, you are irritated for everything, you see, negative things around you, you start blaming, you start talking bad about others, gossiping and all those things. You can get in a very, very vicious cycle just because you're not happy with who you are and your basic needs are not filled. And we all have different basic needs. This is really interesting now because you really need to really go deep, deep and see. Okay, even the language you use, the communication and the language between you and your partner. Are you on the same page or not? That's another thing. And how do you show love and more love and more love? You really have to start working on that because once you make that shift, things are about to change. And once you see that things are changing, wow, your kids will change. And if you don't, and this is the thing, because we live in a world that we really care so much about what everyone else thinks about us, and you prioritize doing things for a neighbor or doing things for someone more than doing things for yourself. So instead of it's probably you heard about, the power of saying no. Once you step into the power of saying no, once you start saying no to the things that are not aligned with your vision, are not aligned with your family values, are not aligned with your needs, everything changes because you start not to care anymore about what the other person thinks of me. So if I don't want to show up on Facebook today, I'm not going to show up. If I don't want to go to that party, I'm not going to go. And it's simple. It's really that simple. You just have to really say no to things that are just draining your energy and you don't feel comfortable going there. And maybe you have friends around you or even family members that instead of uplifting you and
Mhm.
making believing in yourself and being there, supportive and everything, they are totally, your enemy. Well, let
Yeah.
me ask you, why are they still in your life then?
Mhm.
I don't want to be harsh, but this is the reality. We have toxic people around us and we still let them be part of our life.
Mm.
And guess what? The kids, what they're going to do? They're going to do the same. They will surround themselves with toxic relationships because this is the normal, they saw in the family. So
Right.
unless you start changing those things, then yeah, it's going to be pretty hard. And then you get overwhelmed. Why are you overwhelmed? Just ask yourself, what is it? Is it time? If it's time, then you can just learn a bit more about time management and then you can just be more specific about how to prioritize your time. We are all busy, ladies. We are busy in general, especially when you have a business. I have two under two. Jason is two, but Jessica is 5 months old. So, and don't tell me I can run my business. I can, but I'm organized and I
Mhm.
know where to focus my energy. And if I feel like something is really difficult for me to do, guess what? I will delegate and I'm going to ask someone else to do it who for that person it's really good energy and they have that focus and the passion for it. And for me, it's just really difficult. So I will start asking for help. That's another thing moms can do. Start asking for help. And yes, you'll say, like, oh, nobody is next to me. No, I don't have family around. Yes, I get that. It's pretty much the majority of my clients, they are facing the same thing. But guess what? You can find ways to ask for help, not necessarily from your family or not. It's just so easy. You just have to start putting in that universe, and then universe will give you. Like you said about negative things, you can do the same with positivity. And what you bring in on the table is exactly what the universe will give you, or God, or whatever you believe in. It's easy.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I love that. You got to learn to say no. You got to say no, setting boundaries. And I think those boundaries, if you don't set them initially, because I know I was in that situation too, and I would let people like just fall over me. And I was, because I did not have a boundary, I was also saying yes. But now I make it a point that I say no. If I don't want to go somewhere, if I don't want to be anywhere, I'm going to say no. I mean, there are times that I've just recently I've gotten to, um, if there was any like collaborations or anything, if it's not the right fit, I say no. But you have to say no. I agree with that because if we don't say no, we don't set those boundaries initially, people can walk over you, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's difficult then to step away from that. Also, another point could be that, if you're going out somewhere, you don't have to stay late. You can say, well, I want to go, I'm going home. It's easy, but you have to have that voice to open up and say, I don't want to do this. If it's not aligned with you, don't stay up,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And I love that. So you need to start to take ownership.
Yes.
And this is something that's missing. It's missing a lot. Sometimes actually, I'm really talking quite a lot about this. I really truly believe that parenting, it's really similar with leadership.
Hmm.
So if you think about that, especially as a mom, so we are talking now about being a mom, right? As a mom, you plan in advance, you know everything what's happening in the family, you organize everything, you make food, you do the chores, you know exactly everything that's happening in your kid's school, everything, it's you. You are in charge with everything. If you have a partner, then maybe your partner does something as well sometimes, or sometimes it doesn't because we took all those things on our agenda, and it's our fault of that for that. It's our fault because we don't really give any of those responsibilities to others. If you have kids and they are more than 4 or 5 years, give them some chores. Start delegating. Start doing it as a game. Start making it like it's fun and we're going to do it together. Shopping, again, before going to shopping, make a list. If you have 3 kids, for example, okay, 5 items for you, 3 items for you, four for you, depending on their age. Make it fun. We go to the store. This is it. You're gonna do this. You know what? Everyone knows exactly what to do. They're gonna have fun. They're gonna put their groceries there. Here we go. High five. Brilliant. It was like an activity. You mentioned about boundaries. Dinner time. For me, that's it. Dinner time needs to be at least once, especially depending of how my husband works, but it needs to be at least once a day. We need to eat together as a family.
Right.
This is it. This is for me. And at dinner time, we don't have our phones around. I switch off completely. No laptops, nothing. And this is it for me. This is a boundary. And I'm not gonna cross that at all because it's important for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and starting, honestly, when you feel this overwhelm, and I do honestly, I hear this day and night. All the time is the same because we as women, we are so much into masculine, feminine, masculine energy instead of actually being feminine. So the feminine side is the one who is connecting, who's nurturing, who's socializing, who's giving love, compassion, everything. And the masculine energy is the one who's responsible with strategies and planning and all of those things. But guess what? We do them both. And more and more and more, we feel like we have to do them both. And even if we don't have to, it's
Right.
only choose one thing. Honestly, this is your, I would say, your homework. Choose one thing that you can actually delegate it to someone else to do, like just to be responsible for something else. Doesn't matter if they don't do it perfect. I know you're gonna say, "Oh no, the way I do it, it's just me who knows how to do that." No, don't go into that. You don't need to be perfect. You don't look for perfection. You look for progress and you look for appreciation. And think about giving them as a gift to your kids, especially if you start giving them some responsibilities. This is going to teach them a really great skill for life, being responsible for a very young age. And it's a
Yes.
game changer for the whole family.
Hmm. Absolutely. What would you say, Roxandra, are the biggest mistakes modern parents make today? And how, what can they do to make better connections with their children?
Okay. So one of them is this helicopter parenting. that that parent that wants to do everything for the child, and the child is suffocated, and they are the mom or the dad, they want to be in control of every single move, every single feel, every single thought, and that child is literally suffocating. So they have no space whatsoever. They do it with good intentions. They want, obviously, it's for pure love, but it's the
Mhm.
wrong way to do it. You need
Mhm.
to give space. You need to build trust. You need to let your child to make mistakes. You need to let your child to face challenges. You need to let him or her to have a voice.
Right.
Okay? So don't stay there and do everything for them. This is no. Another mistake I see quite often, it's the social media and the screen time and internet in general,
Mhm.
tablets, phones. They are not even one and they are watching cartoons. An 8 months old baby was watching cartoons nonstop. I understand you are busy. I do understand you are busy with other things, but you need to find a way to make some limits for it. Do some research. Go back to the neuroscience. See how much is damaging their brain. Just think about if they are in front of a screen all the time.
Mhm.
Their brain is literally not, their imagination and their creativity, it's stopping because they are so used into that high, it's like a really, really high pitch because everything, the image moves, colors, boom, 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 like lots of things are happening. And for them, it's really overwhelmed. And this is when they don't sleep very well. You see them being tired. They are really tired. They feel exhausted. You
Mhm.
cannot communicate with them anymore. So what sleep deprivation does, they started behaving restless. They are restless. And you're like, oh, my child is not understanding me. They're not doing anything that I'm telling him to do. Well, did he had a good sleep? For how long he's not sleeping well? How many hours is he sleeping? Did he have screen time before bedtime? You know, those things are just so important. They are really important. Well, mistakes, to be honest, are lots. You mentioned about communication. This is something I see quite often. It's shouting. And the child learned that he can be heard, only when mom or dad is shouting at me. And this is going to be the language that he's going to use later on as well. Just because, yeah, okay, their children, they do live in the present moment. So now going back with anxiety lives in the past, in the future. So anxiety is like really worrying and fearing about the future. And depression is in the past, like worrying about what happened in the past. And the present moment is when you are aligned and you live your life fully. So with the child, the children in general, they are very present since they are born. That's the reason why sometimes you have to say a few times the same thing. If they are playing with a puzzle now or with Lego, they are just so focused in that moment, in that present moment. And maybe you have to say 2 or 3 times before they can hear you. It's not because they didn't want to hear you, it's just because they were so connected in the present moment. So, what happens nowadays? You don't have time to say the second time in a nice, polite voice, and you're starting shouting, or you're starting shouting from the second or the third time. And then the reaction is like, oh, okay, this is it. This is the language. Okay, this is what and it's damaging a lot, trust again. Another mistake which I see quite often, it's a case of giving orders, like do this, put your shoes here, go wash your plate, go brush your teeth, go and do your bed, take your school bag now, those type of things. So what do you think about this? I'm really curious about your opinion.
When you give orders to a child feels they don't have autonomy. They feel that, they don't have a right or to raise their voice to say,
Mm,
well, mummy, I'll do that in a minute. But when you say, no, do it now, that is very harmful. Like you say, I absolutely agree with that. It's very damaging to a child when you give orders, do this and do it now. Absolutely. It's very damaging to them.
and do you think that child will be resilient? Will that child be a leader or a follower later
No,
on
he'll
in
be a
life?
follower. He'll be a follower. And when a child is not given autonomy, he becomes a follower. I feel, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, but that child, when he grows up, can be rebellious. And that's
Hmm.
a good question too, Roxandra. Why do children become rebellious? Do they see the environment that they're in, that their parents, they shout often, they don't give children the autonomy to grow mentally as
Not
to
nec-
how they need to be?
Not necessary. What I see quite often, it's a case of choices,
Uh-huh.
and goes back to communication, because obviously we have different circumstances, and you never know if they will go in a really good social environment or a bad one, but it's about choice.
Right,
So it goes back to the values of the family, the belief systems, and the needs. So everything goes back to foundation.
right.
So if you have a good communication with your child, what that means that he or she can come to you and tell their problems. So this is the biggest goal that every parent, I wish this will be their biggest goal. This is the most important thing. What do you think that your child, when he will be 16, for example, will come and will tell you what he's going through? If when he was 5, you shouted at him because he broke a glass,
You won't know
most probably not. The chances are that that child is not going to be open with you anymore,
because he doesn't have the
because you
trust. He doesn't
the
have the
trust, and
trust. Mhm.
also because he remembers when he was 5, this is how you reacted when he broke that
Right.
glass. How mom will react now because I did this, or because this is happening in my life? And then they shut down. And then when they start going away, and they actually usually they will look for comfort somewhere else, and the most majority of the times, unfortunately, will be through addiction or toxic friends or really not a very good environment, because the rebellious is it's always okay. Mom and dad, they are always criticizing me. Whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing it right. Like, you know what? I just don't care. Like, whatever. And this is when they go to the other extreme. So how can we try to avoid that? Is to make sure that our children understand what do we believe in, we as a family. So
Mhm.
for me is trust, definitely. And for me, if I'm saying something, the words mean something to me. If I promise something, I'm going to keep it. If for any reason I cannot keep that promise, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let you know what's happening, like for real. This is one thing, but we all have our own. And then this opens, that channel for them to actually not be afraid to come and tell me. And when they are coming to me, for example, or even later on, this is what I'm telling to the moms I'm working with. Okay, they come to you to saying they have a problem. Let's say they, for example, they had their first break uh, breakdown, or their sorry, what was it? They are in a relationship where they break out. Yeah,
Right.
is that the word? Yeah. Sorry, my brain is
Oh, they broke up. Oh, they broke up.
broke up. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
I knew I'm saying something wrong.
They broke. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we are talking about teenagers, yes, yeah. So, you know, maybe they just want to be listened to. So when they are coming and they are telling you that information, which is super sensitive, right? You don't have to give advice. And this is another mistake parents do. They feel like when the child is coming and open up to me, I need to tell them what to do next. Hold on. Just pause. Just listen. Just be with your child there, and literally just say nothing. Like, not nothing, like don't ignore it, but I mean, go back with another open question. Go back to another open question. Like open questions like, so how this made you feel? So why do you think this happened? Okay. All right. So what was it? Was it the same? I don't know, he did this before, like actually ask more, engage more in conversation, and like a therapist, right? And let your child come with the solution. Let your child express and see, because if you are starting putting your opinion on it, guess what? 20, 10 decades ago, things change, and probably they don't even want to hear your opinion. All they want to do, they want to vent. So be there for them and just be ready to listen and to listen effectively. That means use a few words. What they are saying, just go back to them. Use exactly the same words they just said. This is effective listening. It's not just
Mhm.
hearing. So those are some tricks I will say that will definitely work. And if they go to that rebellion stage, it's just a stage. If it's controlled, if you still have the communication open, if you still know what your child is doing, if you still know his friends or her friends, and you kind of, it's not in a controlling way, it's just in a way of safety. This is another thing. So I'm not telling you, especially now if the child is older or if they are teenagers, me as a mom, okay? So I am worried. I'm thinking about you. All I care about is for you to be safe. Just let me know if you stay longer or if you go somewhere else that initially you told me you go to. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean? So just leave this door open for them to be open to you as well as a parent.
Exactly. So you got to put those boundaries, at the same time, if they want to stay up late, allow them to stay up late, but to know that, yes, it's safe, but just don't be controlling.
Yeah,
How
or
do
maybe
you,
saying no. Sorry, or maybe saying no. If it's not allowed to stay late, that's fine. And this is another thing that I see in leadership in general.
Mhm.
We are just so afraid of criticizing or having conflicts. We are really bad in communicating something negative. I have to say, we are really bad. We don't know how to use. I use it as a teacher, the sandwich method, which is a case of giving constructive feedback. So I will start with something positive, and then I see the negative part. I will say it in here in the middle, and then I will end up with a positive thing. So you don't feel like I'm just criticizing you. So I will say like, look, this is what I love that you did this. For example, I love that you did your homework and everything. However, I think it's time maybe to focus more on the garden, I don't know, the gardening that you were supposed and you promised to your father that you're gonna do. And remember, in our family, we are true to our values. And remember, one of our value is to what you promise, you're gonna stick to it. So what do you think you can do now in order to repair that? Do you need any help? Do you want me to help you? Do you want a plan or something like that? So and when you give feedback or when you go in a conflict, you don't go straight to the person. You go to the situation.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not, even if and the same with, the child, it's not necessarily his fault. Yes, you did, it's not like you didn't like what he did, you didn't like the behavior. So they identify with their actions, right? So it's not like I don't love you, Jason, anymore. It's a case of not liking because you slap Mario in the face and we don't slap, right? Or we don't punish, we don't push each other, like whatever is happening I was thinking
Right.
about toddler area now. But so yes, this is another thing. Sorry, you had another question there. I interrupted you.
Yeah, no
Sorry.
worries. Absolutely. This is a brilliant conversation. I love the energy, love the flow. So thank you so much for sharing. What I was going to ask you, how do you help overwhelmed mothers to make a positive change?
hmm First, make a list. I challenge you. Tell me 10 things right on the spot. 10 things that you are worried about. Why do you feel overwhelmed? And then you start. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Money, relationships, cleaning the house, cooking, whatever it is, kids, school, whatever, apps, whatever you feel like. At least 10. Just do at least 10. Okay, now choose three of them to focus on. And from those three, choose one that you can do a change right now and take action right now.
Right.
So you need to learn how to do everything step by step because we have a lot on our plate. The way the world is functioning at the moment, it makes you feel like you don't have time for nothing. This is how I was lots of years ago when I was in depression and anxiety and when I was with my fibromyalgia and the illness and everything. At that stage of my life, I couldn't go for a toilet break because I felt like I'm wasting time. And I
Mm,
developed a bowel obstruction, believe it or not, like lots of things went wrong just because of that. So pause, slow down, see what's wrong. What's happening actually? Why do you feel overwhelmed? And just go a bit deeper. Like, really, don't be afraid in asking yourself, what's causing this overwhelm? And then once you identify, just see. How can you fix it? And also, it's really good to think about this is another one. Yeah, let me give you 4 steps, like a really good trick. First of all, let's think about a person who has a problem. Give me, look, overwhelmed, right? So this is it. You are overwhelmed. You feel overwhelmed, right? And you already identified someone else was feeling overwhelmed. The third step will be now actually to help that person to deal with overwhelm, right? So it's going to be your best friend. You really want to help people because we all care about people. We are just so good in helping others, aren't we? So you start using a strategy with that person, how to do it. And I'm pretty sure you already have some ideas. What would you say?
What I would say is to really know as to who you are. First of all, who am I? If I can identify who I am, then I'm better able to make that decision as to why do I feel overwhelmed today? Because if I don't know the root cause of what makes me feel overwhelmed, then I wouldn't really know how to fix it. So I would say is to find the root cause of that overwhelmness. Why do you feel overwhelmed? And then what is the solution? But that solution to me would come from but knowing as to what makes me feel overwhelmed. Oh,
Hmm. Yeah, that's brilliant. Exactly. So that's really good. So now you gave this person, a way to move forward. And now the next step, the fourth step, will be to apply the same things for you. So you apply exactly the same strategy for yourself. And it's always really good when you start like that. Just either imagine you have a friend or actually really go and look and find someone who's dealing with that problem, solve that problem for them, and then you're going to solve everything for yourself.
I love that. That is so good. Absolutely. It is so powerful. I love this conversation. Your final question, Roxandra, this has been so eye-opening for mothers as to what they need to do, especially now, becoming a first-time mother, coming with all the challenges. But this is so beautiful. What are the simple questions that we can reflect on our past parenting from our parents as to what really makes a good parent? What makes a good parent? And how would you say that as parents, we need to give our children the space?
Hmm. Okay. So the easiest step, I will say, and the easiest question is, what do you remember from your childhood? This is a good step. Like literally, just try to go back in your childhood. Are there any memories of you being really happy, really joyful, really fulfilled? And take a moment and think about those. Were there any moments where you felt really sad, alone, tearful? Think about that as well. How did your parents handle that for you? How would you like your child to say that their parents handled that for them? So this is one of the questions I will say always. Just put yourself there and say, do I like myself as a mom? What would I say? What would I say myself? What would I change as a mom? And I realized, like, oh yes, maybe I'm criticizing too much, or maybe I'm not so open, or maybe I'm punishing too much. Whatever it is, and then you change that. And going back to your parents, yes, they did what they needed to do, and you don't have to criticize that. You don't have to be really harsh, even if it was traumatic, even if it was addiction, even if it was lots of bad things. It happened, and you have to detach from it, because if you don't do that, and if you have to accept it happened to you, whatever it happened to you, whatever your parents did or did not do, it happened to you. But you have a choice now. Do you want to do the same for your children, or do you want to do something different? And this is the choice that you can make.
Yes. We have choices. Absolutely. Roxana, I want to thank you for this moment. It's been such a pleasure to meet you, but has been such an enlightening conversation. Mothers who are listening to this conversation, Roxandra has shared insights as to what you need to do. What are the tools and techniques that you can help your children to build a better rapport so that you have a very healthy relationship as parent and child? And at the end of the day, this is what we want from you is to have that interactive and the dynamics in the family so it's healthy it's a very harmonious environment that your child thrives. If your child, no matter what the age of 5, they absorb everything, they're like sponges. So I'm so grateful to have Roxandra on the show today. Roxandra, where can people follow you and reach out to you?
Yes, thank you. I will say the easiest way will be on Face. I'm pretty much on all social medias, but I will love for moms to join if they want. On Facebook, I have a community which is called Super Moms Magic Circle.
Nice.
Super Moms Magic Circle, or on YouTube, Roxandra. It's the name of my YouTube channel. And also, I have some invitations. If are any moms in business that are listening to this, I would love to come forward and send me a butterfly. So I know you're interested in a podcast that I'm doing as well, which is called Be You. And we talk about how to balance motherhood and business.
Absolutely amazing. Well, we want all of you to, reach out to Roxandra. If you're a mother and you want more community, you want to be amongst the community so that you can help and support one another. Because at the end of the day, it's about supporting and helping one another. Roxana, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you to everyone for tuning in to this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode that we want to share with you so that entrepreneurs can really excel and scale their life and business. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you, Roxana. That was just amazing. And I really look forward to
Sorry, it was
really
too long.